I remember watching this game on my laptop at Manhattanville College. I was a sophomore in college, and we were about 4 minutes away from being down 3-0, okay, which is almost a death spell in any sport. And we ended up coming back and winning. Hey, what's up, everybody? Talking Trash Podcast. We are back at it again. What's up, everybody? AJ here. Listen, we're doing something different. I am solo for the first time in 34 episodes. I am solo today. Mr. Diamond Hands is getting ready to make his trek to Kansas City, getting ready for his first full season in the East Coast Hockey League. So he's traveling. It's just me today. All right, so we're going to try this out. I decided, hey, listen, let's do a little bit of a Q&A. I put out some social media stuff, and I got a lot of questions. Too many questions to answer for a podcast, so I definitely got a bunch of different, questions you guys sent me. Looking forward to going over them with you and trying this out, man. So I hope you guys bear with us this episode. Hope you guys enjoy it. Make sure you guys like, subscribe, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. Just got word we cracked the top 30 in Canada for hockey podcasts, I believe. So it's a big deal for us. I mean, we haven't even been doing this a year. We're definitely working hard. We appreciate your guys' love and support, and we definitely appreciate you guys. So, listen, last episode was a big one, announcing my return to professional hockey as a senior advisor with the Danbury Hat. That's episode 33, so make sure you guys go back in our catalog and check that out if you missed it. Also, last episode was great. We had probably the most comments we got from that episode was Daniel Amesbury's mosh pit story. The funny thing about that story was I thought he was talking about a concert from when he was a teenager or something. Then come to find out it was from a few weeks back. So Mr. Diamond Hands Daniel Amesbury is the absolute best, man. I mean, how could you not like that man? He is unbelievable. So, again, if you guys missed it, make sure you go back, check out episode 33. And listen, check out all the episodes. We really appreciate you guys, all the love and support. But let's just jump right into it. Again, putting out, I think the other day, just some Q&A. Hey, you've got anything to ask me? Anything. I mean, you know, we're an open book here, and just free for all episodes. So any questions? So I got a question from Frankie James on Facebook. Frankie wrote, and we're gonna start off hot here. Frankie James wrote, which former Trasher do you think would give Daniel Amesbury a run for his money, or probably best him in a hockey fight? All love to Ames. Frankie, good friend, man. Big shout out to our boy Frankie, big time supporter. That's a great question. I get that a lot. You know, obviously the Trashers, we're talking 20 years ago, okay? Players were different. The game was a lot different. Everything was different, right? I mean, who doesn't miss 20 years ago in a lot of different ways? But I tell people this all the time. Daniel Amesbury is a throwback, okay? Daniel Amesbury could fit in any era of hockey. I don't care what era it is. He's like a time traveler. You pick him up like one of those crane games in the, like one of those games in the arcade where you just pick up, you're going for the toys, the claw game. You pick up Daniel Amesbury and put him in any generation of hockey, and he is going to be one of the toughest guys. I'm telling you. It's tough for me because I sound biased, because obviously, Ames is a brother to me. He's a co-host. We've done a lot together in a short time, but I call it how it is. I mean, there's been times he hasn't been at his best fighting, and, that's it. No fighter goes undefeated in life, okay? So I'm not biased. I just call it how it is. And to get to Frankie's question, which Trasher, man? Well, obviously, here's the thing with fights, guys. I mean, I'm in the boxing game too, and what a lot of people don't realize is it doesn't matter how good a fighter is. Your opponent may have a style that just is tricky for you. It doesn't mean you can't defeat that person. It just means their style. There could be, some guys in boxing do very well against taller opponents, believe it or not. Some people struggle with taller opponents. So it really depends on the opponent. Do I think Daniel Amesbury has a weakness? Every fighter has a weakness. I'm not going to reveal what I think could be a tricky situation for him. If someone lines up aside him. I definitely think I wouldn't say, here's the thing, guys. I think Daniel Amesbury wins most of his fights, okay? And he will continue to win most of his fights. But like every great fighter, sometimes there is a style that is a tough matchup. I think I know what that style is, but I would never reveal that because that's my boy DH, and I'm not giving away any secrets. But regardless of a tricky style, I think he's always going to come out on top if possible. But looking at trashers, I mean, listen, let's face it. We had Brad Wingfield. We had Jarrett Burnett, rest in peace. We had John Nasty Marasti, Diamond Dave McIsaac, Frank the Animal Bialois. The list goes on. I mean, even guys that weren't considered our main enforcer. We had some big boys, man. Doug Christensen, Jeff State, just to name a few. Jerry Hickey. We had so much depth, toughness-wise. And what's interesting is they all had their own styles. You know, Brad Wingfield, he was more of a brawler. He's not going to sit there and try to go toe-to-toe with you. He could if he had to, but, man, he would get in there. He'd wrestle with you. He'd maul you. He was like trying to fight a bear. I mean, I would see guys struggle with Winger, and that's a tough style for most guys. John Marassi, he's a guy who's going to grab and chuck him with you. I mean, he's going to go toe-to-toe. He's going to be willing to take one to give one. That's an interesting style. And listen, John Marassi is a legendary hockey enforcer of all time, and it was just a blessing to have him part of our team for those 2 years. And we knew he was going to go on to do big things. Played in NHL exhibition games, had a long stint in the American Hockey League, Quebec League, Russia, I believe, everywhere. He was definitely a bad boy, John Marassi. Jarrett Burnett, rest in peace, Jarrett, former NHL enforcer, really close to myself and my father. Jarrett Burnett was a bad boy, okay? And he was a big boy. He was probably 6'3", 6'4", maybe, I believe. It's funny. I think Jarrett actually might be the one Ames would that would be an interesting matchup for Ames, because Jarrett was just it's like trying to grab a hold of a refrigerator or something right on ice. He was just a big, and I'm not saying Jarrett went undefeated, okay? He lost many fights. I mean, all fighters lose fights, okay? They have tough nights. Jarrett Burnett used to tell me about his battles with Scott, the sheriff, Scott Parker, our friend, our buddy Scott Parker. Big shout out to Parks, his beautiful wife and family, great friends. But, Jarrett, I mean, he was a tough out for anybody, but when he fought Scott Parker, it was a tough go for him. So styles make fights. I have a feeling Jarrett Burnett would have been a tough matchup for Ames. Not saying Ames couldn't beat him. I just think it would be tough. So, Frankie, thank you for the question, man. It's always fun to play those fantasy games, old days, who would win and this and that. But like I said, I stand behind you. You plot Daniel Amesbury, any team, any generation, and he's going to be your guy more times than not. Next up, we have Teresa Moylan on Facebook asks, can you make hockey great again? Seems like the Federal Prospect Hockey League forgot why we all love Fed hockey. Well, Teresa, thank you for the question. I see you a lot on Facebook. Thank you for your support always. Listen, I mean, can I make hockey great again? Me personally, I don't know. What's considered great hockey? I mean, listen, the toughest thing, for me being back involved with hockey, even before getting involved with the hat tricks again, the toughest thing for me was just knowing how different things are. The game is different. The players are different. Everything is different. Life is different. Sports is definitely a reflection of society. Things are just different. Look, I grew up, I was born in 86, those days were more rough and tumble, obviously, growing up through the 90s, early 2000s. Sports was a lot, tougher. That's what I liked. That's what drew me to the game. That's what drew me to sports in general, was how aggressive and tough it could be. It's definitely different. But I think we're on an uptick here. I think the last few years you're starting to see the, quote, tough guy is coming back in hockey, right? I mean, Daniel Amesbury is a perfect example. I mean, the East Coast Hockey League, the ECHL, did something so great this past offseason. League-wide, they added a roster spot. So now, that roster spot that was always reserved for the, quote, tough guy is kind of back. And you see the ECHL's got a lot of dogs right now. Okay, Amesbury, Anthony Collins, Darian Skio, my boy Nico Blashman, God, so many guys, okay? So many guys that are out there in the East Coast Hockey League. I think the ECHL this year has the potential to be the most entertaining league in all of hockey, all over the world. I think they got, not only do they have super high quality hockey, their direct NHL and AHL affiliates, but also I think they're recognizing that extra roster spot could be for a rough and tumble type of guy. And it's given a guy like Daniel Amesbury an opportunity. And it's given a lot of these guys that are below the ECHL maybe an opportunity to move up that maybe they wouldn't have had a few seasons ago. So to basically answer your question, Teresa, listen, this will be my first year kind of involved with the FPHL. I've said it, if you've been a fan of the podcast, I've been critical of them in the past. But I think the league has great potential. And I think it's, time will tell. Me personally, I can't change the world. I can't make hockey great again. All I could do is play my part. And all I really care about is, the Danbury Hat Tricks. That's my team. If the league wants to give me a role or position with the league, that's different. Then I'm going to look at the whole scope of things of the league. But right now, my only concentration is how do we make the Hat Tricks fun, entertaining, and win. That's what it's about, guys. It's about winning. And but like I said, if you're a fan of just all-round hockey, I'm telling you, the ECHL is the league to watch this year, in my humble opinion. Next up, I believe we got a question from Instagram at Noah_Ledbetter.6. I hope I got that right, Noah. And Noah wrote to me, what advice would you give your 25-year-old self? Well, that's a great question, Noah. Listen, at 25 years old, what are we in? We're going back to 2011. Man, that was a different time in my life for sure. My father was away. The Trashers were long gone at that point. I tell a lot of young kids, I do a lot of advising with young kids, at my gym, Champs Boxing Club. I advise so many people, I feel like I should have a therapist license at this point. That's a whole nother story. But I tell young kids, I think one of the hardest chapters of any young guy's life is the age of 23 to 29 years old. I felt like those years, although there was a lot of great things that happened in those years, 23 to 29 years old, I think is just such a transitional year in anybody's life, okay? So you're asking me what advice I'd give myself at 25. I'd be dead, in the middle of that chapter. Those were tough times, man. I would say to myself, hey, listen, keep doing what you're doing. Be who you are. And listen, I think the one of the most important things, guys, is, I guess, any point in your life, but especially in these years is, when you elevate in life, elevating in life comes with a lot of goodbyes, right? So when you start hitting your mid-20s, you're losing a lot of people in your life. Kids you grew up with by default, wherever you grew up, school, your friends are getting married, they're moving, they get jobs. It's very tough, man. And I always found that mid to late 20s were tough years, transitional years. I have a lot of good friends younger than me, at this stage of their life, and they're going through it. And I always tell them, stick through it, man. But just know, you got to elevate your life and do what's best for you, your family. And if that means you have to get rid of some anchors, then so be it. But I guess overall, the advice I give myself is just keep going. Just keep plowing through, man. Next question on Instagram at Jacob_D_YYC. And Jacob wrote, you guys should, oh my God. Jacob, I am so happy you brought this up. Jacob is referring to a kid that's now slowly becoming a social media sensation. And he's telling me I should sign this kid, and it's not going to be possible. But there is a hockey player right now. He is 16 years old. His name is Alexander Karmanov, okay? He's from Moldova, okay? He is 16 years old. He's already committed to Penn State University for the 2027-2028 season, okay? He's currently playing for the Wilkes-Barre Scranton Knights 16U junior team in the AYHL, okay? He's got, in 2 games played, he's got 4 points, 28 penalty minutes as a defenseman. Guys, you ready for this? This kid, Alexander Karmanov, is 16. He's recorded at 7 feet tall, 273 pounds. That is insane. Now, are those numbers correct? I don't know. But the bottom line is he's recorded at, his elite prospect says he's 7 feet tall. Let's just pretend he's 6'10". Let's just pretend. He's already the biggest guy in the NHL, height-wise, I believe. I think Matt Rempe, I think the kid from Vancouver, Myers, like 6'8", 6'9". So even if we drop him a few inches, he would already be the tallest guy in the NHL today at 16 years old. He's 273 pounds. This kid, so Jacob_D_YYC, I got to give you a shout because you put me on to Alexander, and naturally I looked him up, and I couldn't believe what I saw. This kid is a defenseman, and I figured, all right, he's 7 feet tall, he's that big, he's probably a statue, he's probably a circus freak, right? But then I'm like, well, he's already committed to Penn State. He's got to be able to play. I looked this kid up. I'm gonna put him in the description. This kid can play. He's a defenseman. He's a good skater. And let's face it, this kid's got 4 points in 2 games, 28 penalty minutes, which is awesome stat line, all right, as of this recording. But, dude, his wingspan is how big could this kid's wingspan be? This kid is a human poke check. I mean, a defenseman, how are you going to get around this kid in general? I'm all in on Alexander Karmanov, okay? We got to find this kid. I will travel to Wilkes-Barre, Scranton to talk to this kid. I think this kid has potential to be a major asset for the sport of hockey. And I mean, you gotta look this kid up, guys. I'm telling you, Alexander Karmanov. I'm gonna put his Instagram in the description. This kid, 7 feet, 273 at 16 years old. I mean, he's not done growing. I'm super excited. And listen, Jacob, I'd love to sign him to Danbury, but I don't think he's probably going to bypass. He's going to bypass the FPHL, that's for sure, the way things are looking. But man, oh man, already committed to Penn State. It's going to be interesting. I'm going to be watching this kid. I mean, this kid is a freak in a good way, and I'm all for him. So Alexander Karmanov, guys, look this kid up. Again, Wilkes-Barre Scranton Knights 16U team of the AYHL. Yeah, man, I was hoping to talk to Amesy today about this kid. I'm going to put him on to him. I mean, this kid is an absolute monster. I can't wait to see where this kid's future, where it's going. Next question, Instagram at Malcelli15. Malcelli wrote, advice for someone aiming to make a comeback to hockey, how to start rebuilding resume. I believe Malcelli, if I read this correctly before, I think you're in your 20s. I don't know much about your story. I do see you comment a lot, on our posts and stuff. You seem to be a supporter. And listen, man, as far as like getting back to hockey, rebuilding a resume, the hardest step is the first step, right? Okay. I think, the hardest thing is just to get up and start doing it. I think, I'm guilty of this a lot. When I have projects or things I want to do, the hardest thing is just to start going, right? I mean, I think a lot of times we have paralysis by analysis, right? We overthink, we overplan. I do that a lot. I think you just got to get out there and do it, man. I think, I don't know where you're from. I mean, definitely hit us up. Hit me on the DM. If there's any way I could help you in any capacity, just got to be hungry, man. I mean, I don't know. I think you're in your 20s, I believe. Find mentors. Have a support system off the ice. I mean, it's easy. A lot of these athletes, athletes always have enough support system on their field to play, no matter what sport it is. Coach, assistant coaches, athletic trainers, teammates. But I really think what's missing in today's athlete is, your support system outside of your field of play, outside of the rink. And find a mentor, man. Find someone you can bounce ideas off of. Find somebody that you can, talk about your goals. How are you going to get to your goals? I've kind of, in 15 years, dealing with professional boxing, amateur boxing, I do that almost on a daily basis. So Malcelli, hit me up, man. I'd love to help you if I could. But, man, you just got to grind. I mean, that's all it is. I mean, get out there. See, just start playing, man. Get out there and, listen, social media is the gift and the curse, but you got to get yourself out there. You got to get film of yourself, put it out there, get it to scouts, network. I mean, playing the game is the easy part. It's all the other stuff, right? It's connecting with agents, connecting with coaches, social media. It's a lot, man. But get yourself a support system outside of the rink, Marcelli. I believe in you, brother. Hit me up. And you just got to be realistic. Be willing to grind. Be willing to sacrifice. That's what it's all about, guys. You know, sacrifice. Be realistic. Well, I got a question here. I don't know who it's from, but it says it's from an Instagram. Excuse me. It says it's from Instagram. AJ, big fan. How do you plan on making a, quote, dynasty in Danbury? All right, so I've been using the word dynasty. Guys, if you don't, make sure you follow the Danbury Trashers Instagram, at DB Trashers. My personal Instagram is at @official_AJ Galante. Ever since I announced I'm coming back with the hat tricks, I keep putting out that we're looking to build a dynasty. That's kind of the hot word I've been using a lot. And I want to kind of explain what I mean. And this is a good question. I wish I knew who this was, but I know it's coming from Instagram. What do I mean by starting a dynasty? Well, listen, in life, no matter what you're doing, whatever project, sport, business, you have to have a direction. You have to have a goal. You have to have a destination. And the thing with destinations is it's okay if on your way to that destination, you got to change your route a little bit, right? Listen, my father had the vision. I think a dynasty could only be formed if you check off the following that I'm going to name. I mean, you can't just start something brand new and just start a dynasty. It's not possible. I mean, to start a dynasty, it starts with having a vision. 20 years ago, my dad had a vision of bringing professional hockey to Danbury, and long and behold, it ended up being the Danbury Trashers. So that's the vision. The next thing is you build a team. We built a team. Building a team is a lot more than just signing players. It's a lot more than that, man. People don't get it. It's not like a video game in that you just, look at the best attributes and stick them together. There's so many things you have to take into account to build a team on the ice, off the ice. It's got to gel. It's never going to be perfect, but you got to be able to build a team. Okay, so check. We've built the teams before. We started the culture. The vision. Then we had the team and culture. Culture's big. Danbury hockey is huge, man. Okay, Danbury hockey, there's been a couple year layoffs here and there, but technically 20 years of professional hockey in Danbury, and it's only getting bigger. Danbury Hat Tricks of the FPHL, we're going into our 5th year. It's my first year with the team, but this is their overall 5th year. They've been carrying the torch. They've been keeping the Danbury culture alive, man. And what's culture? Well, it's an ideology. You got to come in. And when you're playing for Danbury, man, you got to be willing to put it all on the line. We've had numerous tough teams here. Tough players have come through here. Big-time names have come through here. And that's how you build a culture. People got to know when you come to Danbury, it's not going to be a fun team to play against. It's not going to be a fun arena to play in. We have the culture here in Danbury. Winning is the next check mark you have to have before a dynasty, obviously. Trashers, look, we never won a championship. We won an Eastern Conference championship in 2005, 2006. We made it to the finals. I think we set a franchise record for most wins in an inaugural year, I believe. Don't quote me on it. So we've won. Never won the big one, but we won a lot. Danbury Hat Tricks already have one title in 4 years. The winning is there. So now what's a dynasty? Well, a dynasty is now we just have to put it all together. We have the culture, we have the team, we have the ideology. We just got to win. By any means necessary, we have to win. Danbury Hat Tricks are underdog. We are an underdog team. People aren't fond of Danbury unless you're in Danbury. People don't like Danbury. A lot of that is by default. We always claimed to be the bad boys of hockey 20 years ago. This is a very different time. 20 years later, the Hat Tricks don't claim to be the bad boys of hockey, but people don't like Danbury. There's a lot of stigma that comes with Danbury, and we are underdogs. A lot of people are against Danbury, and that's okay. That's where I like to fit in. I like to be with the underdogs. I like to be with the evil empires, and I truly believe we're going to create a dynasty here in Danbury by just keep winning. We got to win multiple championships, and we got to push, okay? It's not just about the pros. Big-time NAHL, also called the NAHL, North American Hockey League, big-time Tier 2 junior team, junior hat tricks. We have youth hockey in Danbury now, some big-time AAA teams. Danbury culture is crazy with hockey right now. We might be the biggest small hockey town in the country, and we want people to come from all over to play here. I mean, to have Danbury on your resume, on your elite prospect or your hockey DB, I mean, that's an honor, man. So how are we going to create a dynasty? Just keep building. Getting fans interested in the sport that have never been to a hockey game. Obviously, I'm in the boxing business. A lot of the kids that go to my gym at Chance Boxing Club, they've never been to a hockey game. They're going to start coming. Getting them involved, playing the sport, whether it's on the ice or off the ice. So there's a lot we're going to start doing in Danbury. It's not going to happen overnight. Dynasties are the hardest things to accomplish, but I think it's going to be the most worthwhile. So really, there's a lot of how I plan to do my part because, again, it's all a team. It's not just me. It's a team thing. We're going to create a dynasty. And like I said, people are going to remember Danbury hockey forever. Actually, we just talked about him, but next question, at Babyface Executioner. What are your thoughts on the Junior Hat Tricks NAHL team? Okay, so we just talked about it. The NAHL is the North American Hockey League. It's it's like the second tier of junior hockey. It's one of the highest levels of junior hockey. Kids, I believe, 16 to 20, they come from all over to play. Their goal is to get to college, get scholarships, D1, D2, D3, whatever it takes, maybe move up to pro. But these kids' goal is to move up, whether it's to move up to the USHL, which is the top tier junior hockey, or further than that down the line. The Danbury Junior Hat Tricks have been a struggling franchise for a few years now, but this year's a little different. I've been paying attention more to the junior team. Champs Boxing Club is a proud sponsor of the Junior Hat Tricks, of the NAHL. This year's the first year of this new regime of the Junior Hat Tricks. We got a GM named Bob Thornton. He's from out on Long Island. Great man. Met him a bunch of times. We talk a lot. He's a gentleman. Love to get him on the show. He's really built a lot of franchises in the past. He's very well connected in the hockey game, and this is his first year. They acquired this franchise in the NAHL, and he's the GM. Head coach Lenny Caglione. Really love this kid. He's a head coach. I believe it's his first year head coach, and was a standout hockey player, young guy. He's got the energy. He is a Danbury coach. No nonsense. I watch him a lot. I love the message he sends to players. He doesn't play around. Lenny is a great man. I think he's got a very bright future in the sport of hockey. So, like any franchise, you need that strong back end. So we got Bob Thornton, GM, Lenny Caglione, head coach. And listen, this Junior Hat Tricks team, they're showing promise already. Okay, in the past, I'll be honest, I'll always cheer for Danbury no matter what, win, lose, or draw, but they were a little unwatchable at some points in the past. But this year's different. This team competes. And how about our boy, Gates Omacholi, the nephew of Drew and Mike Omacholi of the Danbury Trashers, who was also featured on Netflix. Gates Omacholi is 18 years old. He's already got, as of recording today, 6 points in 5 games. All right, this kid looks like he is going to be a stud. I am not going to be surprised when we hear that he committed to some sort of big-time college. But I got to tell you, right now, if you're a fan of junior hockey, or if you don't know anything about junior hockey and decided you want to go to one of these Junior Hat Tricks games, I got to tell you, my favorite player on the team right now, and I don't even think I met him in person yet, Amin Gaucher, 19 years old, okay? He has 4 points in 5 games as of recording. Let me tell you something about Amin Gaucher, all right? In the summer, they had a training camp, they had a tryout, and I got invited. They had, some scrimmages, before camp broke and, before the Junior Hat Tricks roster was even selected. And I started asking about this Amin Gaucher. He's from California, and I just noticed him immediately, okay? This kid is a trasher. He is a pest. He is all over the ice. You notice him everywhere, okay? He can score. He can check. He can pass the puck. He's a leader. He's an assistant captain, I believe, okay? I was told that there was mixed reactions on his performance during the offseason, but listen, this wasn't my decision, but I remember being like, listen, I'm telling you, this Amin Gaucher, Amin Gaucher, excuse me. This kid's the truth. He's a Danbury player through and through, and, he's got the assistant captain, A-Patch, and this kid is going places. I'm telling you guys right now, this kid, watch out for Amin Gaucher, Amin the Dream, I'm going to call him. He's probably my favorite player to watch right now. So, yes, thoughts on the junior hat tricks and all team. Listen, they're competitive. They're fun to watch. They come out to play, and they're building. They're only going to get better. Every time they come out, they each season they're going to continue to build and grow and recruit, and just one brick at a time. Our next question comes on Facebook from Jake Berglund. Jake wrote, grew up watching the Quad City Mallards of the UHL the same time as the Danbury Trashers. I'd love to hear more stories from the UHL. Jake, thank you for the question. Man, Quad City, what a storied, that's a big-time hockey city, man. And I got to tell you, I'll tell you a Quad City story, actually. So our second year, 2005, 2006, we were rolling. We were the Eastern Conference champions, and we drew in the first round of the playoffs the Quad City Mallards, okay? Earlier that year, I was trying to trade for a gentleman by the name of Frank Littlejohn, who's a minor league hockey legend. Man, he would have been a big-time trasher, okay? Could do it all. Score, hit, fight. He was a tough bastard, man. Frank Littlejohn is a guy you want your kid to play like. He was the ultimate trasher type of player. And Quad City had him, and we wanted him. And I remember we couldn't get him. They just wouldn't play ball with us, and rightfully so. It's their choice. They didn't have to. And we just couldn't get Frank Littlejohn. And that pissed me off. And we allegedly... word got out that we allegedly Frank Littlejohn was under the assumption we were going to sign him the following year, which we never had a following year. But be that as it may, we end up drawing Quad City Mallards in the first round of the playoffs that year. We were a heavy favorite. A lot of experts predicted us to just sweep the Mallards. And guess what happened? We got killed game 1. We got killed game 2. We're down 0-2. We go to Quad City game 3. And I believe we were down 2-3 goals in the third period. And I remember watching this game on my laptop at Manhattanville College. I was a sophomore in college, and we were about 4 minutes away from being down 3-0, okay, which is almost a death spell in any sport. And we ended up coming back and winning, which was bizarre. We come back and win game 3. We come back, win game 4. The series is tied at 2. We play another game in Quad City, and they win. They are up 3-2. We force a game 7, winning game 6. In game 7, we are at home. We were the heavy favorites. It should have never went 7, allegedly, okay? And we are down, and we are down big after 2. We end up coming back and winning, which was arguably game 7 in 2006 against the Quad City Mallards. When we won that game, was arguably the loudest I ever heard the Danbury Arena. But something interesting happened. Frank Littlejohn, like I told you earlier, who I always wanted as a trasher, was on this Quad City team, and he had an awful first round. He didn't do much. As tough as he was just as skilled. He was a veteran presence, a leader. He just had an off series against us, and just didn't do much, didn't really put the puck in the net, didn't contribute on the score sheet as much as I think Quad City expected. And what ended up happening is Quad City's coach, Brian Curran, who is a big-time hockey player back in the day, I believe accused us of getting in Frank Littlejohn. We were basically, I'll put it in layman's terms, we were basically told that we were playing with Frank Littlejohn's head, okay? Pause. We were told that we were, we paid him off to not have the series he was supposed to have against us. I remember allegedly Frank Littlejohn and Brian Curran got into a heated argument after Game 7. I believe Frank Littlejohn was accused of basically kind of throwing in the towel against us, which couldn't be true. Frank Littlejohn is a stand-up guy, a solid guy, but we were basically accused of paying off Frank Littlejohn to basically no-show the series, basically just kind of be out there physically but mentally not there. It didn't help matters that after Game 7 in the handshake line, I remember Frankie shook my hand and said, "See you next year." And I think word traveled fast within that bench, and Quad City was not happy with us. But I can say that we did not pay Frank Littlejohn off. He just had an off series, so stop accusing us with everything. Jake, I hope you like that story. But got nothing but love and respect for Quad City. They are a big-time hockey franchise, a big-time town, and they had great fans. I mean, Quad City's in Illinois, I believe, and fans would travel to Danbury. I mean, they would get in their car, driving I don't know how many hours to Danbury. So Quad City had a big-time team, but their coach, Brian Kern, was not happy with us, thinking we paid off Frank Littlejohn. That did not happen. Allegedly, not allegedly, I don't know. I just know we won the series. Next question. This is an anonymous question. Or no, I just can't see who wrote it, but someone wrote, AJ, you are a stand-up guy, big fan of you and DH's, but can you be truthful and honest of where you think Daniel Amesbury's future is going, etc.? Well, anonymous, I mean, listen, I call it how it is. Daniel Amesbury is my brother. He's my co-host. I'd do anything for that man. I call it always how I see it, and I pride myself on being impartial. I'm not biased. I keep it real, man. My honest opinion about Diamond Hands is that he is going to, at some point this year, end up in the American Hockey League. I'm going to explain why. A lot of people think that's crazy. When I discovered, when me and Ames kind of connected through Ice Wars, the King of the Ring tournament, he had been off from hockey for so long. The story's infamous at this point, and he ends up making a big mark. Comes to Danbury, wins a championship in Danbury, gets suspended for life in this league, and then he ends up with one of the most storied franchises ever in hockey, the Fort Wayne Komets, and now he's with last year's finalists in the ECHL, Kansas City Mavericks. I'm going to tell you right now, Diamond Hands is as focused as I've ever seen him. Okay, this offseason, he is unrecognizable. As a person, mentally, physically, he is ready to go. I am telling you right now, people are going to be shocked at the strides this man's made in his game. I don't think people realize, even though he's had basically, I guess partially a lot of suspensions, but 2 seasons since his decade-long retirement. I mean, it takes a long time to find that flow again, and he's back, man. I'm telling you right now, Daniel Amesbury is going to make the American Hockey League at some point this year. I don't know when it's going to be. Obviously, I have no inside knowledge of it. It's my prediction. I really believe that he could be a mainstay in the American Hockey League. We talked about it earlier. The game is getting tougher again. Skilled guys are getting paid more, and you got to protect your investment. Who's better to be your security blanket than Diamond Hands Daniel Amesbury? This is a guy that's going to make things happen. Not a guy you want to play with. He'll fight with anyone. He'll throw his body around, but he's going to put up points this year. You mark my words. Daniel Amesbury is really coming to make a statement. I couldn't be prouder of him. He's just in a great place mentally, physically. I can't wait, and that's my honest opinion. I'll be shocked. I mean, unless he goes off the deep end, I'll be shocked that he doesn't get a chance in the American Hockey League. I really believe that. And who knows? Maybe he gets shot at an NHL camp next offseason. Sounds crazy, right? But crazier things have happened. And but I'm telling you, you watch out for my boy DH. I'm always on his side. But regardless of me always being on his side, I'll always keep it real. If I think he's washed, if I don't think he's doing well, I'll be the first to tell him, and I'll be the first to say it, because that's just how you got to be. You got to be real. But I expect Daniel Amesbury to do some big, big things. Next question from our boy, Bosch Filthy, Big Braden Boschman on Facebook. Braden, we got to get you to Danbury, brother. You're a Danbury trasher. I think you'd look good in Hat Tricks black and orange, but that's a story for another day. Big Braden asks, do you think Matt Rempe will make the New York Rangers? If so, why? Have you ever met him, and how is he as a guy? Well, first things first, Matt Rempe is going to make the Rangers. Again, we talk about off seasons. I've been seeing what Matt Rempe has been doing this off season, And he's another guy that's got a chip on his shoulder. I think he hears all the whispers that, hey, he can only fight. He can't do anything else. This guy can do a lot of things, man. I think people get it twisted with Matt Rempe. I think people just think he's a fighter. He's just, nah, man. This guy can skate. He can throw the body. He's a guy you want on the team. Honestly, I think he's the most popular guy on the Rangers, okay? I do think Brady, he's going to make the Rangers. He better. Actually, you know what? Rangers, get rid of him. I'd love the New Jersey Devils to pick him up. Okay? Matt Rempe is a guy you want on your team, period. He showed it. He showed up for the playoffs. I think he scored the first goal of the playoffs for the New York Rangers, if I remember correctly. Makes me sick I was watching so much Ranger hockey, but I'm a big Matt Rempe fan. I can't help it. I'll never cheer for them as a team, but I fuck with Rempe. That's my guy. So, yes, I believe he's going to make the Rangers. He better. It would be a catastrophe to lose him. He's going to excel in New York. He's going to be a cult icon here. I'm telling you. I'm telling you right now. Have I ever met him? No, I haven't met him. Spoke with him briefly a few times via social media. He's a gentleman. He always responds. Great guy. I know him and Ames have been close. I know Ames has met him and says he's a stand-up guy, humble, and that's all you could ask for. But Matt Rempe is going to be a New York Ranger, and he's going to be just like Diamond Hands. He's going to show a different side of himself this season, and I truly believe that. I'm really rooting for Matt Rempe for sure. Next question on Facebook, Peyton Engstrom. Sorry if I said your name wrong there, Peyton, but you wrote, what do you think of the APHL and the direction it's heading as far as some teams being affiliated in the Federal Prospect Hockey League and so on? Well, the APHL, for those who don't know, is the American Premier Hockey League. It's I believe it's like a senior AAA men's league or something like that. But basically, it's a half a level down from lower levels of pro hockey, such as the FPHL. I love it. Leagues like the APHL is what keeps things going, man. I think the Federal Hockey League is smart for some of their teams to be affiliated with these guys. I mean, listen, it's like social media more, man. The more collaboration, the better. I think the APHL is great. They got great team names, and they got a tough brand of hockey, and you need that, right? I mean, you need that. You need a pipeline. So I'm rooting for the APHL. I think it's great. I think they're going to continue to grow, and they just gotta, I always tell people, whether it's a league, a team, a business, an individual, just be who you are and be the best at it. I don't think the APHL thinks they're like the cream of the crop league, okay? Be who you are, be entertaining. They draw fans from what I've been told, okay? I got friends that are part of some teams there. You know what? Have fun with it. Be entertaining. These people want to have, fun. And I think the more affiliation they could have with a pro league such as the FPHL, I think that's huge. So, yeah, Peyton, I love the APHL. I think Toledo's got some fire uniform. I think they're called the Mobsters or something. I love their uniforms. Also, the Battlers, right? My boy's sending me a jersey. My boy Keegan McGraw is playing for that team. The Battlers, I believe. They got a great team. A lot of Midwest teams, tough brand of hockey. So shout out to the APHL. A question on Facebook. AJ, love the pod. You and Amesy are a great pair. You could really tell how genuine you guys are. How come you guys aren't number one yet? Ha, ha, ha. Well, listen, first and foremost, we've only been doing this not even a year now. I, for one, am not a legit broadcaster or anything. Amesy, the same thing. We take this podcast serious, man. We take this show serious, and it's only going to get better. Listen, it's social media is crazy. I mean, listen, everyone has a podcast, right? I mean, I try not to number watch with the views and the listens and the streams and all that. I mean, obviously, you have to pay attention. You got to see where you could get better, where you could grow. But, my life doesn't depend on social media or the podcast. I put a lot into this. I know Amesy does too. But, yeah, we want to grow. I think me and him got a great dynamic. I think people like listening to us. But I think we're too real. You know what it is? What's tough? What sells nowadays is the craziness, right? I mean, guys doing weird shit on social media, doing skits, weird stuff, doing anything to go viral, exploiting everything. I mean, listen, man, I'm still trying to get comfortable behind the mic, behind the camera. I don't like talking about myself. It's not really my way. I don't know, man. I mean, I'm a very authentic individual. I'm very solid. I grew up a different way. Listen, the old days, we weren't supposed to be on camera. You know, I was always told, you don't want to put yourself out there. And now I'm in a generation where you have to be out there or else you're invisible. So it's definitely an odd dynamic. I'm trying to figure it out. I'm trying to get more comfortable with it. Listen, man, I got stories for days I could tell. But it's just not like me. I just believe that. I believe in being an open book, but I also believe in, brother, I'm old school. I'm old school. My dad raised me. I'm old school. So I just think there's certain things that are sacred, and you're supposed to go to grave with stuff. I mean, look, I got great stories. I could tell you stories that would get 1 million views, but at what cost, So it's a balancing act. I know Amesy's the same way. I mean, Amesy's trying to accomplish big things. I mean, he's not the type of guy who's going to run around and try to go viral on purpose and do weirdo shit like these young kids do. So, I mean, maybe that's not why we're not number one. I don't know. I don't know what number one means. I mean, we're growing. I know, we appreciate all you guys. Make sure you like and subscribe. We're only going to get better. We're doing different things. We're testing different things out. And, I think we got a good product, and look, we're just going to keep grinding, man. And regardless, nothing happens overnight anyway. It's going to take time. And we appreciate all you guys who've been supporting us from day one. So definitely looking forward to the future. Facebook, I got a question from Chase M. Carpenter, or Chas M. Carpenter, one or the other. At the NAHL level, at the NAHL level, is it important to have local talent or individuals that came up through the local youth hockey scene? Or is it just best to... All right, so this is a little choppy question. I guess what Mr. Carpenter is asking is, when you're dealing with a NAHL team, a junior team, which we were just talking about, I think he's asking, is it best to have local guys that have come through the system locally, or just go get the best talent everywhere, anywhere? Recruit from anywhere, really. I think you have to have a mix of both. Listen, again, you have to sell tickets. Who's going to come to local games? Local players' fans, local players' families. So, I mean, if you got a young stud that, came up in the area and he could play on your team, pick him. You know what I mean? But I think it's all about winning. I think you got to recruit. You got to sell it to families why your city is the place to be to play hockey and get to that next level, hopefully get a scholarship and move up. I think it's a mix of both, Chase. I think you definitely have to have the local flair, though. I mean, you have to have that home. It's like boxing, right? When I do boxing shows, I'd love to have the biggest names in boxing fight on the shows, but the reality is, if they're from 3,000 miles away, no one's going to buy a ticket. So you got to have an undercard of local kids and kids that could sell tickets and go from there. So I think it's a mix of both. Another question on Facebook, Scott Campion. How far would your hockey career have gone had you not been injured in high school? I don't know, Scott. I really don't know. Someone once asked me, too, if I didn't get a knee injury, do the trashers happen? I don't know. I really don't know. Listen, I was a decent hockey player, okay? I wasn't a great hockey player. I didn't have like schools beating down the door to have me. I didn't have scholarship offers. I don't know, man. I don't know where I would have went. I mean, do I wish I would have took things a little more seriously? Yeah, I do. I wish I would have took things a little more seriously in high school. I was too busy trying to rip people's heads off and, just be physical and be crazy and entertaining but that's not going to get you too far. You know what I mean? So, listen, I mean, who knows? I mean, maybe I would have tried to walk on or something, but I doubt it, man. I mean, I really loved hockey. I played it for a while, but I don't think I was going to be a pro. Even college, who the hell knows what could have happened? But I don't know, man. I wasn't, I'll be real. I wasn't really committed in progressing. I was just really committed to just being a nutcase out there and throwing the body around. And, I regret some of the stuff I used to do on the ice. I was hurting guys, and I regret a lot of that. But it is what it is, man. I mean, you can't go back and take it back. And listen, what goes around comes around. I hurt a lot of people, and then I end up getting hurt. So, karma's for real, man. So I don't know, Scott. I don't know where it would have went, to be honest with you. But listen, I wasn't some highly touted prospect, that's for sure. Last question. AJ, I know you're a huge wrestling fan. Have you watched the new Vince McMahon docuseries, and what do you think about it? Oh, man. Yeah, I watched it. Man, I got to be careful what I say here. Vince McMahon was a hero of mine growing up. I'm a huge wrestling fan. I've always been a fan of an underdog. I've always been a fan of someone who's built something and has that take-no-prisoner attitude like Vince McMahon. And he definitely is a take-no-prisoner guy, and his story is very interesting. This docuseries, it's definitely an eye-opener. As someone who's had a documentary based a little bit on part of my life, I could relate a little bit. As someone who's been in the spotlight, especially a little locally throughout my life, I could understand a little bit of it. Here's the deal, man. Vince McMahon got accused of some serious allegations. Who knows? Only he knows if it's true. God knows if it's true. I'm not here to judge. I can't judge. I don't know. I'm a firm believer in you're innocent until proven guilty. He hasn't been proven guilty. Vince McMahon is a lightning rod, man. He's a guy that people love to hate, and the feds have been after him for a long time, man. A long time. Steroid case, this case. I mean, Vince McMahon is just one of those guys that doesn't conform. He does his own thing. He's been beyond successful. He's a self-made billionaire. Yeah, people don't like it. The docuseries, as someone who's, again, been in a documentary, and I know what it's like to be behind the camera and get the questions, and I don't know, man. You could tell that they were, listen, I think people are going to dump on Vince McMahon, but you got to learn to separate a man from his accomplishments and personal stuff. And whether the personal stuff is true or not, and again, I believe in being innocent until proven guilty. If it is true, if it is proven that he's guilty, I don't agree with some of the things he's being accused of at all. But it doesn't take away of what he's accomplished as a man. And I don't know, man. I'm a loyal guy too. And listen, I mean, I'm one of those guys, I'm going to go down with you to the wheels fall off. So, I don't know. I kind of hate seeing people dump on him after all these years of him putting a lot of money in people's pockets. That's just my opinion. Again, what he's been accused of is pretty rough. I hope it's not true. I kind of have my own opinion on what it is, but, not every opinion needs to be broadcasted. So, I'm wishing Vince McMahon the best. But definitely an interesting docuseries. But I am a Vince McMahon fan. I stand by that. And, yeah, man. So shout out to Vince McMahon. Definitely a living legend, polarizing figure. And people can have an opinion one way or the other. Guys, listen, man. This was, I'll keep it real. This was a tough one. Okay, one take. I only took one break for about 5 minutes before. It's tough doing a podcast in general. It's tough to do one on your own. It's the first time I did it on my own. I did a Q&A. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you guys stuck around to listen. Definitely going to have some great guests coming up. A lot of updates with Mr. Diamond Hands, with myself, the hat tricks. A lot of cool stuff coming. Guys, leave a comment. What do you guys want to see? I've been flirting with the idea of doing something more daily. Maybe not in studio, but something more daily, more up to date with, our careers, what's going on with me and Diamond Hands. What do you guys think? What kind of content do you want to see? Do you want behind the scenes stuff with me with the hat tricks? Obviously, we want to do stuff with Ames out there in Kansas City. What do you guys want to see? Because that's what it's all about. Listen, again, big shout out to Club 93. Been a sponsor and a partner and friend since day one. Episode 1, Club 93. Going to put the link in the description. Make sure you guys are following these guys. These guys are making dreams come true for a lot of people. Their mission is to play hockey till they're 93 years old, and I believe a lot of them. Those guys are in shape for their age, okay? And I'm not too far behind them. So shout out to Club 93. Big shout out to former Talking Trash guest Brett Brochu, who played goalie for the Fort Wayne Comets when Diamond Hands was out there. Brett Brochu got some time this preseason with the Edmonton Oilers. Flipping the channel and see Brett Brochu, who was on not that long ago here, getting some time with the Edmonton Oilers preseason. So proud of you, Brett. Keep doing your thing. Like we said in that episode, man, a kid's coming up, and he's going to make his mark. And yeah, guys, again, make sure you like, subscribe, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. Really appreciate you guys sticking with us. We got a lot of fun stuff coming our way, so we'll catch you guys next time.